A nonna could turn flour and water into the best pasta you've tasted, and none of it is on the back of the box. Here are 25 clever pasta tricks that will change how you cook, including the one that turns a thin, watery sauce silky so it clings to every strand, and a number one you've almost certainly never tasted. Let's get into it. Number 25. Read the pasta, not the timer. Every box gives a number, but every stove and batch behaves differently, so the clock alone leaves pasta chalky or soft. A nonna never trusted the timer. A minute before the box time, she lifted out a strand, bit through it, and looked at the broken end. A hair-thin dot of pale raw flour still in the very center meant al dente, cooked through with a firm bite that finishes in the sauce. The instant that white dot vanishes, it's done. A moment past, it goes soft. That speck is just the last dry starch in the core, waiting for its water. And a perfect bite starts before you taste it, with how you salt the water, and almost everyone gets the reason wrong. Number 24. Salt the water like the sea, for the reason no one tells you. Everyone says to salt the pasta water, yet most still get it wrong. Here's the part nobody explains. Once the water boils, add a rounded tablespoon of coarse salt per liter, about 10 grams, until it tastes like mild seawater. That is the only chance you'll ever get to season the pasta itself. As it swells, the pasta drinks that salted water into its core, seasoned all the way through, and the starch that becomes your sauce is seasoned too. Salt it later and you flavor only the surface. The middle stays bland. And add the salt after it boils, so it dissolves at once and won't pit the pot. If you love the way she cooked, subscribe and cook the old way with us. And keep one thing out of that water, the mistake that ruins your sauce before you've made it. Number 23. Never pour oil into the pasta water. People were told a glug of oil stops pasta sticking, and it does the exact opposite. Oil floats on top and barely touches the pasta while it boils, so it can't stop anything sticking. Only stirring does that. The real damage comes at the end. When you drain, that film of oil wraps every strand in a slick, waterproof coat, and now sauce can't grip at all. It slides off into a puddle. A nonna's pasta was never oily and never stuck, because she stirred it early instead. Keep the oil for the pan. It has no business in the pot. And speaking of the pot, there's a right way to get long spaghetti into it, and snapping it in half is a small tragedy. Number 22. Never break your spaghetti to fit the pot. It's the habit that makes an Italian wince. You grab the long strands and snap them to fit. A nonna would sooner buy a bigger pot. Instead, stand the ends in the boiling water, and as the bottoms soften after about 10 seconds, press and fan the rest under, or lay it across a wide, low pan. Full-length strands twirl into a proper forkful that holds its sauce. Broken shards scatter, won't wind onto the fork, and carry far less. Length isn't fussiness, it's function, and once it's in, there's a 90-second window that decides whether your pasta glides apart or welds into one lump. Number 21. Stir hard for the first 90 seconds, then leave it. If your pasta clumps or cements to the bottom, the fix isn't more water or oil, it's when you stir. A nonna stirred well for the first 90 seconds, then mostly left it alone. The reason is pure starch. The moment dry pasta hits hot water, its surface starch turns sticky and gluey, the window when strands weld together and to the metal. Move them through it and they set loose. Miss it and they bond into a block. 30 seconds up front saves the whole pot. And the shape you reached for on the shelf matters more than you think. The wrong one leaves your sauce in a sad little pool. Number 20. Match the shape of the pasta to the sauce. We've all seen thin spaghetti drowning under a heavy ragu, the sauce sliding to the bottom of the bowl. A nonna match shape to sauce as naturally as breathing, and it's all about surface and grip. Long, smooth strands like spaghetti and linguine suit slick sauces that coat, oil and garlic, seafood, a silky tomato. Ridged tubes and twists, rigatoni, penne, fusilli, trap thick, chunky sauces, catching the meat in every groove. A heavy ragu slides off thin spaghetti. The same ragu rides up inside every rigatoni. Match them, and every forkful carries sauce. Subscribe if you want to cook pasta the way an Italian grandmother actually did. And there's a way to buy pasta that grabs sauce before you've even cooked it, if you know what to feel for. Number 19. Buy pasta that clings. Feel for the rough surface. If your sauce slides off no matter what, the pasta may be working against you before it hits the water. A nonna knew a good box by touch. Turn the packet over, look for bronze cut or trafilata al bronzo, and choose the pasta that looks pale, chalky and rough, rather than shiny and glassy. Here's why. Cheap pasta is pushed through slippery Teflon dies that leave it smooth and sealed, so sauce runs off. Traditional pasta is forced through rough bronze dies that scratch thousands of tiny grooves into every piece, and those grooves grip sauce like Velcro. Run your thumb across a raw piece. Rough, not slick, is what you want. And before you drain a single pot again, there's a cup of something you must never let go down the sink. Number 18. Save a cup of starchy pasta water before you drain. Most people tip the whole pot into the colander and watch that cloudy water rush down the drain. A nonna always paused first. Just before draining, she dipped a mug into the pot and saved a cup of that milky, cream-colored water, because it isn't dirty water, it's liquid starch. As pasta boils, it sheds starch into the water, and a splash stirred into a sauce does two things nothing else can. It loosens a sauce gone too thick without watering down the flavor, and it binds oil and water into one smooth, glossy sauce. She reached for that cup every single time, because saving the water is only half of it. What she did with it next is the trick on the thumbnail, and it changes everything. Number 17. Finish the pasta in the pan, never on the plate. This is the one on the thumbnail. It's the biggest difference between home pasta and restaurant pasta. Here's what most people do. Drain the pasta, pile it on a plate, spoon sauce on top, and it slides off into a watery puddle. A nonna never served it that way. A minute before the pasta was done, she lifted it straight into a wide pan with the sauce, added a splash of that starchy pasta water, and tossed it hard over the heat. The starch, the fat, and the water whip together into a silky, glossy sauce that grabs hold of every strand and clings. The Italians call it mantecatura. The pasta even finishes cooking in the sauce, drinking the flavor in instead of sitting under it. Silky, not watery. That's the whole secret. And it works even better once you stop doing it backwards, because most people add the sauce to the pasta when a nonna did the exact opposite. Number 16. Add the pasta to the sauce, not the sauce to the pasta. It sounds like nothing, but it transforms the plate. Most of us cook the pasta, drain it, mound it in a bowl, and pour sauce on top, where it meets only the surface, leaving the strands underneath dry. A nonna did it the other way. She kept the sauce in its wide pan and brought the almost cooked pasta to it, dripping, folding it through until every strand was dressed and letting it finish cooking right there. A noodle that finishes in the sauce absorbs it, soaking the flavor in, instead of wearing it like a wet coat. The pan does the marrying, the plate only serves. That habit alone rewrites how your pasta tastes. Every one of these tricks, the salting, the pasta water, finishing it in the pan, is written down in Nonna's handbook, gathered in one place in the order she'd have taught them, so you can find the right one with flour on your hands. The link is in the description below. Now, number 15. Number 15. Pull the pasta a minute under the time on the box. If your pasta keeps arriving soft and bloated, even though you followed the packet, the box is lying to you. Nonna set her timer a minute, sometimes 2, short of the printed time, and drained while it still had a firm bite. The reason: pasta doesn't stop cooking when it leaves the water. The heat trapped inside keeps going, and then it cooks again in the hot sauce. Pull it early, and those last minutes happen in the pan, in the flavor, landing it right on the plate. Cook it fully in the pot, and by the time it reaches the table, it's already gone soft. And once it's drained, there's one tempting thing you must never do to it under the tap. Number 14. Never rinse your pasta under the tap. It feels sensible. The pasta's hot and sticky, so you rinse it. And it quietly ruins the plate, because that cloudy film is surface starch, and starch is the glue that lets sauce grab hold. Rinse it away and you wash the glue down the drain, and you chill the pasta so the sauce seizes the moment it touches. So don't. The only time Nonna rinsed pasta was when she wanted it cold and separate, a summer pasta salad, where you aren't chasing a clinging sauce anyway. Every other time, straight from pot to pan, starch and all. And here's where a lot of good cooks smother all their work. They drown the pasta. Number 13. Dress the pasta lightly. Don't drown it in sauce. Walk into many kitchens and you'll see a bowl swimming in sauce, the pasta lost underneath. Nonna served it the other way. You want just enough sauce to coat and cling, not to pool. A thin, glossy film on each piece, barely a whisper left in the bowl. In Italy, the pasta is the dish, and the sauce the seasoning. Too much drowns the flavor of the wheat and turns pasta into soup. Add it a little at a time in the pan, toss, and stop while you can still see the pasta itself. And the bowl you tip it into matters more than you'd guess. A cold one quietly wrecks it. Number 12. Warm the bowls before the pasta goes in. It's the difference between pasta that stays glossy and pasta that turns pasty halfway through dinner. Nonna warmed the serving bowls first, and for free. Before draining, she dipped the empty bowls in the pasta water, swirled, and tipped it out, hot in seconds, or left them in a low oven. Pasta is small and loses heat fast, and a cold bowl steals it in an instant. The moment the sauce cools, its fat sets and turns thick and claggy, gripping the china instead of the pasta. A warm bowl keeps everything loose and glossy to the last forkful. Now for the cheese, and why the stuff in the plastic tub will never melt into your sauce. Number 11. Grate your cheese fresh, and never buy it pre-grated. If your cheese clumps into rubbery knots or leaves your sauce gritty, the problem came in the bag. Nonna only ever grated her Parmesan or Pecorino fresh from the wedge. The reason is hidden in the packet. Pre-grated cheese is dusted with anti-caking powders, cellulose and starches, added so the shreds don't clump on the shelf. Those same powders stop it melting smoothly, so it seizes into gritty grains instead of a silky sauce. Real cheese, grated fine as dust, melts into a glossy cream the powder never can, and vanishes into the heat. Which is exactly how you make the trickiest Roman pasta of all without it turning into scrambled string. Number 10. Make cacio e pepe creamy by keeping it off the heat. 3 ingredients: pasta, pecorino, black pepper, and it defeats people constantly, clumping into stringy knots instead of a peppery cream. Nonna's secret was to take the pan off the heat before the cheese went near it. She mixed finely grated pecorino with a little pasta water into a loose paste, toasted cracked pepper in the dry pan, then, off the flame, tossed the pasta with the paste until creamy. The science is simple. Pecorino's proteins seize the instant they get too hot, keep them below a scald, and the starch in the pasta water holds everything in a smooth emulsion. Off the heat, patient, and it turns to silk. And whatever you cook, the clock starts the second it drains, because pasta waits for no one. Number 9. Remember, pasta waits for no one. Sauce it the instant it drains. Every cook knows the scene. You drain the pasta, turn away, and come back to a solid, stuck-together brick. A nonna never let it happen, because her sauce was always ready and hot before the pasta was done. The moment it drained, it went straight into the pan. Never let drained pasta sit naked in the colander. The second it leaves the water, it cools, and its surface starch turns to glue. In 2 or 3 minutes, bare strands fuse into a lump. Sauced at once, still steaming, it stays loose and glossy. And if you ever want a topping that beats grated cheese for pennies, you make it from something most people throw in the bin. Number 8. Make pangrattato, the poor man's parmesan, from stale bread. You want crunch and richness on top, but good cheese is dear, or the bread's gone hard. A nonna wasted neither. She blitzed stale bread into rough crumbs and toasted them slowly with olive oil, a clove of garlic, and a pinch of salt until deep gold and fragrant. Scattered over the pasta, those crumbs, pangrattato, give you the crunch, savory depth, and golden richness of a cheese topping for the price of yesterday's loaf. In the poorer South, they called it the poor man's parmesan, and on dishes of anchovy, garlic, and oil, it belongs there even more than cheese. And if you're ever spooning pasta into soup, there's a way to stop it drinking the whole pot dry. Number 7. For pasta in broth, cook the pasta separately. A bowl of little pasta in hot broth is pure comfort, until the second helping, when the soup has turned to thick sludge with no broth left. A nonna kept them apart, cooking the soup pasta separately in salted water, then dropping a spoonful into each bowl and ladling the hot broth over it. The reason: pasta never stops drinking. Leave it in the broth and it keeps swelling until the broth is gone and the pasta is mush. Married only in the bowl, the broth stays brothy and the pasta stays firm, even for seconds. And speaking of leftovers, a nonna could stretch 1 pot of sauce across a whole week without anyone noticing. Number 6. Stretch 1 pot of sauce across a whole week. Cooking a fresh sauce every night is exhausting, and eating the identical one for days is dreary, so a nonna did neither. She made 1 big pot of simple tomato sugo on a Sunday, built on a slow sofrito of onion, carrot, and celery. Then she gave it a different coat each night: cream for a rosy sauce, chili and garlic for arrabbiata, olives and capers for puttanesca, brown sausage for a quick ragu. She kept it in the fridge 3 or 4 days, or froze it in portions. The long-cooked base did the heavy work once, and small additions made it a new dinner every time. And when last night's pasta is sitting in the fridge, there's a way to bring it fully back to life. Number 5. Bring day-old pasta back to life instead of nuking it dry. Cold leftover pasta microwaved on its own comes out gummy, tough, and sad. A nonna revived it properly. Either she dropped it into boiling water for 30 seconds, then drained and sauced, or, better, she warmed it in a pan with a splash of water and a little oil, tossing until the strands loosened and steamed. Here's what's happening. The starch that set hard as it chilled softens and lets go again with a little heat and moisture, and the pasta springs back almost as good as fresh. Dry heat bakes it into rubber. Heat plus a splash of water resurrects it. Now, one question a nonna could answer in a heartbeat: when to reach for fresh pasta, and when dried is better. Number 4. Know when to use dried pasta and when to use fresh. There's a stubborn belief that fresh is always superior and dried a cheap compromise, and it leads people to the wrong one. A nonna knew they were simply different tools. She reached for fresh egg pasta, tagliatelle, pappardelle, when the sauce was rich, buttery, or creamy, because its soft, eggy ribbons drink those sauces up and cling to them. She reached for good dried pasta, spaghetti, rigatoni, for a firm, springy bite and a robust sauce of oil, tomato, or seafood, because dried holds its shape where fresh goes soft. Neither is better. Each is built for a different job. And if you're baking your pasta, there's a rule that saves it from turning to mush. Number 3. When you're baking pasta, undercook it first. A tray of lasagna or baked ziti that comes out soft and mushy is almost always cooked twice, fully boiled, then baked. A nonna boiled hers 3 or 4 minutes short of al dente, barely bendy, still firm in the center, before it went into the dish. The reason: in the oven, the pasta cooks a second time, soaking up sauce and moisture from everything around it. Boil it all the way first, and that second bake turns it to slush. Leave it deliberately underdone, and it finishes to a perfect bite in the heat, having drunk in all that flavor. Undercook it for the oven, every time. And there's a way to build a starchier, silkier sauce just by changing how much water you use. Number 2. Use less water in a wide pan for a richer, starchier sauce. We're all taught to boil pasta in a huge pot, but for most everyday sauces, that giant pot works against you. Instead, cook the pasta in a wide, shallow pan in just enough water to move it freely, stirring more often. Here's the payoff. With less water, the starch the pasta sheds isn't diluted into gallons. It stays concentrated, so the water you save is thicker and far more powerful for binding your sauce. Real liquid gold. It boils quicker too. Best of all, you finish the pasta right there in the same wide pan, risotto style, and the sauce comes out silkier. And now, the number 1, the trick almost no one outside Italy has tasted, and it begins before the water even boils. Number 1. Toast your dry pasta before you ever boil it. This is the one that stops people in their tracks. It sounds wrong, and it's unforgettable once you taste it. Most pasta lands on the plate as a plain, blank background with no flavor of its own. A nonna in the old country gave it one. Before boiling, she spread the dry pasta in a dry pan, or one with the barest film of oil, over medium heat, and toasted it a few minutes, shaking it, until it turned a shade darker and smelled nutty and warm, like toasted bread or popcorn. Then she boiled it as normal, a minute longer. That toasting sets off the same browning that gives roasted coffee and crusty bread their depth, the Maillard reaction, and it soaks into the wheat. The finished pasta carries a deep, nutty, almost roasted flavor under the sauce that most people have never tasted, from a step that costs nothing but 5 minutes and a dry pan. It's the closest thing a humble bowl of pasta has to a secret. So there they are, 25 pasta tricks a nonna never needed to write down because they lived in her hands, not in a book. Not one of them costs a thing. They're just attention at the right moment. The difference between pasta that feeds you and pasta you remember. Learn even a handful and yours will never taste the same again. That wide pan I keep tossing the pasta in, how a nonna seasoned her cast iron and kept it slick for 50 years, is in the video on your screen now, so watch that one next. And subscribe so we can keep bringing back the tricks the world nearly forgot. And she'd whisper one last thing: taste it before it ever leaves the pan, because the pan is where pasta is saved or lost.